Are you planning on racing Ironman 70.3 Louisville in Kentucky? Well, if you are, this is a perfect video for you because in it, two experienced coaches and a local coach are going to talk through what you need to know for the swim, the bike, and the run. And also all that transition, and we'll maybe even make some equipment recommendations as well as we go. But who are we? I'll start off. My name is Stephen Moody, or Coach Steve. I am an Ironman U certified coach from Dublin, Ireland. But more recently, I've become a YouTuber who specializes in reviews of 70.3 and Ironman races around the world. And I can only do that with my brilliant network of experienced coaches, race organizers, race announcers that I can tap in and ask all the questions that are in the back of your mind as you prepare for your race. And again, I'm delighted to have Coach Stephanie back to the channel, who's done a couple of reviews with me already. Oilman was our latest one. Um, Coach Stephanie, do you want to give us a little bit of background to yourself and sort of how you know this race and what you'd like to talk about?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Coach Steph. I now live in Austin, Texas, and I coach a team of athletes. We're R3 Endurance. And my specialty is helping athletes coming back from either an injury or some time away from the sport. I am also a doctor of physical therapy. I am also a bike fitter, and I offer some swim analysis and gait analysis in my training and kind of on the side as well. And so, yeah, my experience with this, I actually have a few athletes that have raced this Louisville race. And so preparing them for that race, having some of that information, but also one of my athletes lives in Louisville and knows this course inside and out. And so I kind of chatted with him to get some insider information for us today on the course as well.
Fantastic. So, yep, a good network of people to talk to, and let's get straight into the swim section.
Okay.
Um, Alrighty. So it looks point to point in the Ohio River. What can people expect for this swim session? Is the water going to be cold, clear? Is it downstream, upstream? What was the inside on it?
Yeah, so the water temp, it may not be wetsuit legal. So you're kind of on the edge of maybe that 75, maybe it's 77. So you're just never going to know on the day of the race. And the water, it depends on if it's dirty or if it's a little bit clearer. It depends on the current that day. So if the current picks up, it can pick up everything along with it and it might be a little more dirty. And so you won't have as much visibility. Also, the recommendation was don't wear white kit because your white kit might get a little dirty in the water
Yeah.
as well with that. Um, so, and then if there is not much of a current, then it's probably going to be a little bit more clear.
Okay. Is it typically downstream then, is it? Or we're not swimming against this angle down? Is this mainly
Yeah,
downstream?
right. So if there is a current, more than likely you're going to be swimming with it. But I think he told me it's going to be a pretty even swim. So don't expect it to be a really fast swim like some other races.
Yeah, not like a Chattanooga or California,
Right.
for example. Okay, cool.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Anything else in terms of swim? It does look, I said, like in terms of the race, the actual swim itself. As I said, it's point to point, so it's literally a straight shot down, and that we're not really worrying too much about what you call it, turning points, etc. I suppose, and even
Mm-hmm.
sighting, you're just keeping as long as you're parallel to that shoreline, you're doing okay. Is there anything else that we know about that people should expect about the swim?
Yes. So just like all the other Ironman races, you are going to self seed yourself, but it does get crowded in the corral. So get there early. You will have to walk about a mile or so to get to the swim start because it is a point to point swim. So you have to get down. So, what I always recommend is just give yourself time in the morning, get your transition stuff set up, and then head to the swim start. Bring your gel and your throwaway water bottle, and just wear your swim stuff to the start, maybe your throwaway flip-flops if you have them, or if someone's with you at the start of the race, they can take your shoes for you. They do have buses to take to the start, so I found that interesting. That's a nice option to have. So you can take a bus to the swim start so you can save your legs a little bit. And I think that was most of it. When you get out of the water, um, you, you are going to have to take a couple of steps up, it sounds like, but it's not exactly a ladder that you're going to be pulling yourself up. It's like you're coming up from a boat launch.
Ah, okay, okay. And do we know where is it the swim start itself? Is it a pontoon swim start, or are they how do we enter in the water? Is this off a jetty, or is it any ideas how we enter the water?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually don't know that. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. I
no
don't
worries.
think it's a walking into the water type of situation, but I can't really say. I think yeah, I can't
Yeah.
say what it is.
Okay, no worries. Typically, with the water, with the river swims, I've been that they typically have some sort of pontoon that they have set up that they allow people to kind of either dive in or jump in, and that will line up with the seated swim start. Being a river as well, I doubt that there's any option for a practice swim the day before. Did your athlete mention that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. And if for some reason there isn't an option, sometimes there are local coaches in town that may host something separately from the race director hosting. So you'll just have to get an idea of, what the locals are setting up.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, back to the other point where you have to do this walk up. If you are going to take the bus, that's grand. And I think the buses start from 5:30, 5:30, that is, that will bring you up. But as Coach Steph was saying, if you are going to walk up, it's a good idea to wear a pair of shoes or no flip-flops or Crocs, or so you don't bang your toe or something. Again, it's a really bad way to start your day if you're walking up barefoot in your wetsuit and then you actually manage to stand on something. So make sure you have something on your feet. Um, okay, all right. I think that's anything else for the swim start. I will talk a little bit about how the seated swim start that you mentioned works out, or anything else there, Steph.
No, I think that's everything about the swim start.
Okay, okay. Alrighty. And then it's worth noting that in terms of when you cross the timing mat, and we'll discuss how that works, it's a standard Iron mat, a 70.3 cutoff of 1 hour and 10 minutes. But I doubt that's going to be a big issue because you are going to get a little bit of downstream depending on the current and all the rest. And again, just make sure that you've practiced swimming in open water beforehand. So it's because it's quite different to swimming in a pool and getting used to your wetsuit, etc. Hopefully, if you get that, if they get the option for a
Mhm.
wetsuit. All right, okay, let's move on to a little bit about transition. Sorry, actually, no, the actual what we'll talk about first now is what Coach Steph referenced it being a seated swim start. For those new to Ironman and 70.3 racing, Ironman uses what they call a seated or a rolling swim start. And that means when you arrive on the day, you will find pens or corrals that are indicated by under 30 minutes, 30 to 35 minutes, 35 to 40 minutes, all the way up to 60 to 65, etc. And this means that it is the athlete's responsibility to put themselves in the time grouping that equates to what they will expect to swim on the day. So if you are a 2 minute per 100 swimmer, you put yourself in the 35 to 40 minute corral. And that means it gives Ironman the ability to release all the fast swimmers at the start, and then release all the swimmers in a controlled manner. And how they do the controlled manner is, as you can see here are your police or your volunteers, and make sure you say thank you to them. They've given up their time of day so you can swim. They will hold their arms open like that and hold back athletes. And then every 6, 7 minutes, depending on the race organizer's timing of it, a audible beep will go, and then they'll let in 4, 5, or swimmers at a time. You can see these guys heading off, and they're the last wave. I love this guy. He's doing his garment straight away there. He should have done it here. Um, and so the key thing here is to seed yourself correctly, and that for me is important because one, if you seed yourself incorrectly and make the mistake, oh, I'm a bit tight on cutoff, I'm going to put myself in an earlier wave. That was a really bad idea because what will happen is you'll get swam over by the stronger swimmers and they go, shouldn't be here. And B, more importantly, you'll miss the ability to draft off swimmers roughly the same level as yourself. If you're 2 minute per 100 swimmers, you're not going to be able to hold on to the feet of a 130 per 100 swimmer. So seed yourself correctly, set yourself up. The swim is just setting yourself up for part of a big day. You can make a balls of your day if you go in and you get swam over and dunked and you lose your goggles and all sorts of stuff can happen if you're not in the right corral. Anything else you want to add to that, Coach Steph?
No, I think seating yourself, you covered that pretty well. I think at my last race that I did, because it was not wetsuit legal, people had a difficult time with seating themselves because they were not too familiar at what time to expect without the wetsuit. So I think even myself, given that, knowing that now, maybe I should have seated myself a little bit higher because I ran into a lot of feet and I was just a little bit more aware of that during the race.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's good if you're swimming the feet you're chasing, as in so you can draft off those feet, which is
Yeah.
100% legal in the swim. And it's a really good way to save energy, but it's not if you're catching and they're actually in your way. And again, that's people
Yeah.
who have incorrectly seeded themselves or you've been a bit conservative. It's
There was a lot of that, unfortunately, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope you didn't dunk them. Did you dunk anybody?
No, no, no. I'm very aware of the foot. But then that makes me zigzag a little because I try to, do the courteous thing and get around, right? So,
I dunk. I'm
do
unashamed of
you? I
it.
just, safety first for me.
I know I've been dunked before, and it's like, God, like,
You have.
and if they are like if people they can, there's a way of knowing that they should move to the side or move a little bit, and if they get aggressive, I dunk. And if they kind of
I
go,
see.
no,
I
that makes
see.
I,
I see what
I,
you mean.
I feel bad now. It makes me sound like a terrible person.
No, yeah.
We're gonna edit that bit out. And I'm gonna make
That
it
part
sound like
out.
you said you dunked you. So I can just audit
No,
like
I
Coach
tap the
Steph
foot, and if
dunks,
if
Stephen
they're
does
really
not
in
dunk.
my way, I'll go around.
Me too. Okay, moving swiftly along. Seamless. Alrighty. Okay. So we a couple of things about transition. From the key thing to note is it's a single transition. So your T1 and your T2 are in the same place, which is great because it means you do not have to worry about putting your bike in one place and putting your run gear in another. It makes it easier in the morning, which is beautiful. Um, it being an American 70.3, they operate what they call a traditional transition. So you'll hear other people talking about when the full distance races, the clean transition, the blue and red bags, etc. Not an issue here. It's simple enough that you just have to set up as if you would setting up for your local sprint, setting up for your local Olympic, and have everything set up by the bike, etc. And we're gonna tap into Coach Steph's ideas on this in a second.
Mhm.
And so in that, what's your advice for someone who's doing their first 70.3, Coach Steph, in terms of how they should prepare themselves for the first ever transition from going from swim to bike?
Yes. So I always say keep it simple. So don't bring a bucket full of water. Don't bring a balloon to mark your spot. Just keep it all simple. Use a brightly colored towel, transition towel. So a transition towel is not like this huge beach towel. It's also not just a small face towel. So you want the towel to be big enough so that it can hold your running shoes. It can hold like some of your run stuff, and if you put your bike shoes on there too, your bike shoes. But don't make it any much bigger than that. You want it to be brightly colored. My favorite towel I got from a friend who hosts events locally here, and it's bright yellow, and I love it. So bright towel, make it simple. Just put your run stuff, put your cycling stuff, put your helmet. If you have aero bars, if you can place your helmet nicely so that it fits on your aero bars. So all you have to do is when you're standing, you just pop it on and you pop your sunglasses on. You do have to have your helmet strapped and clipped at all times while you're touching your bike. So that's an important feature as well. Make sure that when you're setting up your transition for the bike, have all of your bottles and all of your nutrition on your bike ready to go so you don't have to waste time in your transition time trying to fill up or make sure you have this and that on your bike. Just have everything ready so you can really just grab and go. Maybe change your shoes for a second, grab and go. For the wetsuit, if it is wetsuit legal and you are wearing a wetsuit, just be aware of where you are putting that wetsuit in transition so you're not getting it in the way of everyone else who are around you. And I believe it is you are allowed to put your wetsuit over where your bike was while your bike is like while you're going out for the bike. So you can take your bike and just slap your wetsuit over it to kind of get out of the way during that period as well. But so those are my best tips for transition. Keep it simple. Don't bring your whole bag. Get your bag out of transition also. If you have a friend or someone with you, give it to your Sherpa.
Yeah. Absolutely, great tips there. And again, from my point of view, what I again remember, you will be setting up your bike the day before. So I also get my guys to walk the kind of key ins and outs of the transition. So you'll get a chance to see what the numbers will be allocated to you when you arrive and you register. So you will have a number in the racking system, like you might be number 100. That's the way they print off the numbers. So when you're coming to set yourself up, I find out where your bike placement is and put that there. Observe anything inanimate like a big tree or something that you'll know that's your landmark, and then check out where the swim exit will be. Okay, so that's where you're going to swim exit and kind of walk where you're going to go from the swim exit to where the bike is, and then the walk then to where you will be what we call the bike out, and there'd be a mount line where they may be there before, but it probably will. You have to get the bike 100% across before you can get on it. Just the first two landmarks I look. The swim out, where your bike is, the mount line, and the run out, the bike out, and then also to prepare yourself for T2, and we'll talk about that. Like, make sure what would you be doing when you're coming back in from the bike in, and where that will mean in terms of where your bike is. We have to rack that, and then also where the run out is. If you know those areas, and also everyone has smartphones, take pictures. So like, because you'll be lying in bed and go like, okay, was it the third trios nearby, or was I in rack number A, B, or C? Take pictures and you go, okay. It's nice and reassuring that you say, okay, I'm in rack D. I'm midway down it. It's right in line with that beautiful porta potty or whatever it is. And then that will help you kind of walk through and have a very smooth transition. But all the other tips on top of Coach Steph, absolutely brilliant. And if you want to check out some quick little tips, and already some of the ones Coach Steph has called out, bright towel, how to put your helmet on your aero bars, and keeping things simple there in the comments below. And also, fingers crossed it is a wetsuit swim for you. And if it is, here's a quick tip on how to get in and out of the wetsuit. You don't typically get wetsuit strippers in peelers, whoops, inappropriate words. I have to remember it's an American audience. The Your wetsuit peelers, they typically meant to be at more full distance races because they don't normally get as many volunteers at the 70.3 distance. Learn how to take out yourself your wetsuit, as in if you do need it, you don't want to be there kind of falling around in transition trying to get out. Okay, anything else before we move on to the bike course, Coach Steph?
I think they do have wetsuit peelers at this race though. So hopefully
Ooh.
they'll have enough volunteers. Yeah. And so the transition, just so you know, they are a little bit on the longer side. It's shorter from the swim to the transition, but it's mostly cement until you are going to get your bikes. But then you have to, when you get your bike and you go to run out, you have to run out outside of the transition area about 75 yards before you hit the mount line. So it's quite of a long transition area that you're going to be running either with your cycling shoes or barefoot if you clip your shoes into your cleats. And then also the transition is mostly a grassy field, but like I said before, part of the chute that you're running up and running out is sidewalk cement and So it's a mix of surfaces.
Excellent. And that's part of your kind of your recce of the day before. You go like, okay, so this part's on grass, this part's on tarmac,
Mhm.
sorry, concrete, etc. Brilliant. Okay, will we move on to the bike part? Yes. Ready? All right.
Yeah.
Actually, before we do that, I hope you're enjoying Coach Steph's great tips and info. Please give her a thumbs up if you are. And if you're interested in finding out other races, as I said, Coach Steph has already done Oilman with me. Which other race did we do? I'm trying to remember which one.
Waco.
Waco as well, with
Mhm.
the race director, Nancy. So lots of other cool video race reviews and other training content on the channel. Definitely check it out. And also, by the way, make sure you check out Coach Steph's Instagram. She does some really cool stuff and all that. She actually needs to teach me how to do some of the stuff. I love the way she's editing it. Um,
Thank you.
and she's also a top coach. As you can see, she's already got people through this course. So if you're watching this video in advance of thinking doing this next year, and you're looking for someone who actually knows the course, who knows how to get you a 70.3 ready or PB ready if you've already done a couple of 70.3s, hit up Steph for a quick chat about how she can help you hit those goals. You will be so thankful when you did. And, maybe was it then just as I said, top coach and a lovely lady to boot. Okay.
Thank you, Stephen.
Alrighty. And I don't want you to blush in the video, as in Okay, okay. We are now on to the bike course, which looks like it's a single loop out and back. What can
Mhm.
people expect on the day? Road surface? Is it hilly? As it We'll ask all the questions about TT bikes and then. So what's the feedback on the bike course?
Yes. Expect hills. This is quite a hilly course. So the first 10 miles, though, the first 10 miles out, which means also the last 10 miles in, is pretty flat. So you're going to be feeling pretty good. Around mile 10 or 11, you are going to hit your first hill. It's really not that bad, but it is going to be your first hill. And so you may have to drop down into your smaller ring on the front, like if you do two rings on the front and drop down to that smaller one. But there are mostly rollers on this course. So after that first hill, you're going to hit a bunch of rolling hills. And then um, in some races, you'll experience rolling hills that are kind of straight, but with this, you're hitting rolling hills, but it's a little bit curvy.
Ooh.
So you're going to be winding. I mean, it's not like you're, hitting switchbacks and such, but it's just not going to be, you can't really see more than 2 miles ahead of you at any point in time. It can be a little bit windy. It really just depends on the day. So it's not like some of our beach Ironmans where you're hitting that crosswind or headwind, tailwind. But it might be a little bit windy on certain sections. It's not a very technical course. Like I said, it's a little windy, but not too bad. When you make the first turn, it looks like on 393, you're going to start a climb, and then there's a descent, and then there's something called Grandma's Hill. I guess a lot of the locals call it Grandma's Hill, which is a pretty big hill. And it's called Grandma's Hill. I'm not exactly sure if it's called that because you have to get into your granny gear.
Meh.
But it did mention around mile 20, you're going to have to drop down into that front ring and climb a decent hill. And then there's about 3 climbs on that same road. Then you turn onto the next road and it'll feel flat, but it's actually a false flat. So you're going to still be going uphill for some of it. You'll have some inclines and declines, a little bit gentle, still rolling. You can pick up a little bit of speed on that. And then there is on Road 53, he said there's a little town that you're going to go through, and there actually is a large cheering crowd through that town. So it can kind of boost your morale while you're out there. There's a little bit of a descent on that road too, and it's nice and straight. So you can pick up some speed on that part. But at the very end of picking all that speed, of course, it ends with another climb. And it looks a little bit more daunting than it is because it is straight and it's not windy. So you can see that climb from afar. And have you ever noticed when you approach a climb like that, it looks so big, you're like, uh-oh, I have to climb that. But then when you start to approach it, it's really not as bad as it looked. And so that's kind of one of those hills. But like I said, when you come back, the last 10 miles or so, you're going to be feeling pretty good. And it's going to be relatively flat on the way back. So you can kind of spin your legs out and get yourself ready for that run.
Fantastic. And is the road surface generally good? Or is there
Mhm.
anything, potholes or anything to be noted of?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. It generally is held up pretty well.
Fantastic. And it's an unusual course in a sense with the rolling hills. Would the if you had the option of a road bike versus a TT bike, would you be recommending a TT bike or a road bike based on your
You
understanding of the
know,
course?
I think it really depends on like what your gear ratio is on your road bike versus your TT bike. So if your TT bike is pretty aggressive and you don't have enough of the cogs to really make it up and feel confident making it up some of those bigger climbs, then you may want to use the road bike because you might be in those climbs, like you might have to get out of your TT position to climb. So it also depends on if you're comfortable climbing in your TT bike position versus climbing on a road bike position. I think, you can still do this race on a TT bike, and I think a lot of people still do, especially because there are some really fast areas with that decline and then a nice flat piece of road for at least 10 miles in the beginning, 10 miles at the end, and then in the middle somewhere there as well.
Fantastic. Excellent. Okay. And closed roads or not? Do we know if it's a completely closed roads on the course?
It's not completely closed. And so, one thing is when the traffic starts to pick up, if you're kind of back of the pack, you might run into a little bit more of that traffic. It's not completely closed, but the police and the volunteers do a really good job of managing that. You may, though, like I said, if you're back of the pack, you may end up having to get squeezed a little bit and get behind a car here or there because of the timing and such.
Okay.
Uh, yeah.
All right. Good to know. Fabulous. So it's a little bit more challenging than some of the like a Waco, for example, but in it that will be the reward. Knowing where those climbs and those false flats are, etc., will really stand to athletes. So thanks for that. Anything else we
Yes.
need to know on the bike course that we think would be useful for athletes?
No, I think that's most of it. When I talk about in general rolling hills, I always like to say just keep your speed going if you can, right? Keep your momentum going. So you're going to be um, climbing up the rollers. If you're climbing up that hill, you want to take the speed of going on the downhill into the next uphill. So you're not going to have to really click down in the back or in the front for the next hill. Keep that momentum going.
Absolutely, kind of blast through those hills. And in terms of not only keeping momentum, but keeping fueling as well, we've got aid
Yes.
stations at roughly around 15 miles, a little bit, or I'd say that's around 28 mile, and then we have on the way back at around, I'd say 42 miles. And we'll talk a little bit of aid stations in the next slide. But in terms of the time to get the job done on the bike course, you have between your swim, your T1 time, and your bike time, you've got 5.5 hours to get it done. So be conscious of that and train towards that. Okay, we will move on to a little bit about aid stations. And this is how an Ironman aid station looks like. And there's a couple of things I'll draw attention to. One is we have our zone and a start of a trash zone, an end of a trash zone, or a rubbish if you're a European like myself, which is very important because the only place you can throw empty bottles, wrappers, bananas, whatever, is between this at the start of this and the end of this at the aid stations we shouted out at the 15 mile, the was it 28 mile and the 42 mile, or wherever exactly you are in the course. Because if you don't, two things will happen. One, you will be known as a dick in the triathlon community and no one will like you. And two, more importantly, you'll get spotted by a marshal and you'll probably get DQ'd. And it's a terrible way to ruin all the months of training, everything, because you couldn't respect the countryside in the beautiful countryside of Kentucky, which we are privileged to race in. So please adhere to this rule out of goodness in your own heart, and also the fact it's an Ironman rule. So it means that Ironman can come along the next day and everything's picked up, and it's like we were never there. And that means we get invited back to race in Louisville the next year. So this is key, and I always have a little bit of a rant on that. But other things you will find in an Ironman aid stations are good things. Um, Ironman aid stations I describe as high reward yet high risk. They're high reward because you need to know you don't want to carry all your fuel and your nutrition with you on the bike. It's a bit too heavy to do that. There's no point. And besides, Ironman's paying for it. This is the only thing you get paid for by Ironman. It means if you know with the aid stations, you allow yourself to kind of fuel and hydrate, not only for the bike, but also for the upcoming half Ironman. That's your reward. But as I said, it's high risk. Because if you listen to my remember my previous point, this is the only place where people go chuck bottles. They're gonna chuck but they'll also be trying to grab bottles from volunteers. And typically you see a lot of debris and people drop things and people are moving in, etc. So please be very, when you're coming into an aid station, be a couple of things, very situationally aware. Is there anything on the floor? Has someone dropped something right in front of me? Is that cyclist moving in? Communicate. Tell people if you're going into an aid station, slow down because you need to get the bottle or the gel or the banana from a volunteer. So you're not going to do that if you're going at 100 miles an hour. And then also communicate, secure it, and then communicate you're coming out. So situation aware, communicate, and just eyes on. It's really important. And if you do that correctly, you will have the option of getting water bottles, mortal hydration, or food. When I say food, it's typically gels or energy bars, and they will be Morton. Um, and these bottles will be able to fit into a standard bottle cage. Anything you want to add on to the aid station bit there, Coach Steph?
I think you got it mostly covered. Just knowing your plan, knowing your nutrition plan ahead of time. And like you said, the night before, when you're planning out your transition, you also want to just be planning out exactly what you're going to do at what time of the race through the plan. And so part of that is going to be including, are you going to take from the aid station? What exactly are you going to take from the aid station to help you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope we haven't panicked you. Well, mainly me. I was more negative. Coach Steph is always much more positive. The aid stations are there to they will help you on the race day. And it's a
Yes.
simple way of doing it. There's some things you just need to do. You need to practice taking a bottle from a friend, a partner, as part of the end of your long ride. So yes, the first couple of times you'll knock it off and it'll be giggles, but the third time you'll know what sort of speed you need to go at to kind of get the bottle and put it into the bottle cage. So do practice it. The video and one of my more popular videos is below as do's and don'ts and how to handle an aid station and some demos by pros, including one pro who knocked 5 bottles off in a row. It's absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best videos I could ever do. I'm showing exactly how not to do it, and they're getting paid for it. So watch the video. It gives you sort of things to be aware of, being polite to volunteers, being aware of your competitors, etc. And you'll have a good day. You'll get lots of free Morton gels, which are not cheap anyhow, and you'll more or less pay back your entry fee if you
Yeah, I
eat.
was going to say, I don't know how quote unquote free it is. You've paid
If
your
you
way
eat,
to
I've
get some
worked
of
it out.
that.
If you eat 1,000 Morton gels on the course, you are actually into profits, Coach Steph.
There you go.
Let's be positive here.
You only need 1,000.
Oh, imagine you'd sleep again like in 2007. Okay, all righty. We'll so move on to next up is we're back to the same transition. As I said, so you will now be coming into the bike in portion where there'll be a dismount line where you have to stop your bike entirely and get off the bike and run with it to your station. Um, I don't, are there bike catchers? Do you know if there's bike catchers in this transition?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That tends to be for the full distance. I know they do have them in Texas, etc., and in Florida, but not for 70.3. Um, And what's your top tips for a nice speedy and controlled transition to when we're going from bike to run, Coach Steph?
Yeah, so something about this transition, the transition back is still quite a long shoot. So you are going to have to run with your bike either in your bike shoes or barefoot coming back in, but try to keep that turnover pretty quick if you can, just to keep the momentum and the coordination and the blood flow going. And then when you're coming in, uh, like I said, keep it simple. Rack your bike, keep your helmet on until you rack your bike, take your helmet off, and then figure out what you're going to do with your shoes. If you're someone who takes keeps your shoes on the bike, then you're already barefoot and all you have to do is slip your shoes on. If not, then you're going to just quickly take your bike shoes off, put them in a spot where it's not in the way of anyone else, and then quickly just put your run shoes on, grab your race belt. So a race belt is like a stretchy thing that you can put around your belly, and then in the morning you can have your race number attached to it, so you don't have to like pin your race number on yourself. So grab your race belt, grab your shoes. Sometimes you can wear something that's called lock laces, or there's various different brands of shoelaces, but these laces are stretchy laces. That way you just have to slip your shoes on. You don't have to be tying your shoes or anything. And then grab your sunglasses, your hat, if you do like a quick spray of sunscreen or something, and then just go. Like it should be really quick. You should not have to sit down. You could take maybe a swig of water or something, but if you run with a handheld, bring that with you. Don't forget your nutrition that you were going to bring on the run. Yeah, I've heard of people, oh, I was going to bring my vest and then I totally forgot to bring it. So don't forget that.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
otherwise, make it quick, in and out, keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% in that. Our squad, we have a phrase that nothing good happens in transition two, as in
Exactly.
get in, get out. Or the latest one is that the only thing in transition two are other people's problems, as in someone sitting there going, I can't believe we got a penalty. And you're like, don't sit there, talk to that guy, get moving.
Right.
Once you have your shoes on, your runners on, you can move. So, like for me, as I said, the rule is socks on if you're going to put on, shoes on, everything else you start moving. It doesn't matter if you're walking, it doesn't matter if you're jogging, if you're running, but you can put your visor on. You can take a gel when you're actually moving, and or you can put your race belt on while moving. The only thing you need is shoes on and then get moving because even then, every step you're making is closer to A, the first aid station, and B, the finish line. So get in, get out. No messing around. Some other tips as well about how to get a fast kind of transition bike to run. A lot of stuff that Coach Steph has already added there, but again, if you want to refresh you, the link in the comments below, and then we will talk about the run course. Okay. So, Coach Steph, we got what can we expect on the run course? Is it hilly? Is it flat? What can we expect?
So, it can be quite hilly. So there is quite a bit of elevation, but it is going to be flat, almost like the bike course. So you're going to have flat for the first about 4 miles of it, and then the same coming back because I think it's an out kind of around and then back. So it's going to be flat coming out to Cherokee Park at mile 4. It's going to be mostly flat coming back from the park, but you are going to get that leaves about 5 or so miles where you're going to get some of this rolling and a little bit of elevation, a couple of climbs within the park. And so there is some tree cover in the park. Some areas are not, but it's not too bad heat wise. It's going to be a little warm, but you are going to have some of that shaded cover. And then when you come into the finish line, it's a really nice finish line. You're in this beautiful downtown Louisville, so there's lots of bars and restaurants in the area. It's crowded with, people cheering. You actually have a nice second floor because it's kind of in an outdoor mall area. And so there's this second floor above you. So as you're coming in, you have people from up top
Yeah,
who
cool.
are cheering for you. So that's really cool. So it's really a great finish line. And so the finish is about a mile away from transition. So once you finish through, you're going to have to kind of walk back to transition to get your bike and such. But
Cool. Excellent. No, it does sound like an interesting run course in terms of, yeah, I didn't realize Kentucky was so hilly. However,
right, I know.
but it's a well-earned medal as well. So that, and again, as I
It,
said, I'm pretty sure the crowd support will be awesome. Anything else on the run course? Is it all predominantly on concrete, or are you on grass, or for a part of it,
you
or
know, I think majority of it is on the concrete. I'm not 100% sure on the part that's in the park though. I don't remember hearing about any like crushed limestone or anything like that, but I I don't know. So I can't really state one way or the other.
okay, no bother. And then just also just a key thing as well. There's in terms of fueling and hydration, you did say it'll be warm. There are absolutely buckets of aid stations on the course. It looks like there's one every kind of mile. So my advice to people as well, especially if it's a hot day, is to make sure that you don't miss any aid station, even if you're just taking on board fuel for hydration purposes, or a bit of fuel or food to keep your glycogen and your energy levels up, or even if you're just pouring a bit of water down the back of your neck, or if there's ice, put it under your cap to help yourself keep your core temperature down. Those aid stations will be much valued. And also, again, as always, be polite to volunteers. Good manners never go out of fashion. Um, Anything else we'll add to to the run course before we go to the race schedule?
Mm, I think that's most of it. Let's say when you're going up the hill, though, I always like to tell people think about the backswing of your arm because that backswing can help you propel up the hill a little bit better. So kind of use that to your advantage. Also, when you're going up the hill, don't just try to trudge up it. Try to keep that turnover rate quick. So maybe if you need to take shorter strides, but just try to keep that turnover rate pretty high. And then when you come down, you don't want to overstride too much because if you do that, you're just going to be like putting so much force on those legs as you're coming down that you can't really get that recoil to get that next step up again. And you're also going to be really, really sore the next day. So you don't want to be like overstriding coming down the hill. Try to keep that turnover quick again as well. And use your body lean to your advantage. So when you're going up the hill, you can lean a little bit more forward to keep that momentum going. And then coming down the hill, your natural tendency is that you want to like lean back. That kind of slows you down a little bit. You also don't want to lean too far forward because then you're just like trying to stop yourself from going way too fast down the hill. So try to find that like in between spot, that sweet spot that feels good.
Yeah, agreed. And if it has with the natural tendency to lean back when you're running forward, all you're doing is engaging you're engaging your glutes and your quads without any benefit. So you're better off actually leaning into it and getting a bit more gravity behind you. But yeah, but not overly trying to as if you're kind of feel like you're
Yeah.
falling down. So yeah,
Okay.
it is finding that sweet spot and adjusting your cadence as well. I tell guys little short choppy steps when you're going up a hill and a little bit of a more exaggerated uh stride because each stride that you're pushing off, you're kind of getting a bit of not air time, but you're propelling yourself down further down the hill. But again, to your point, Coach Steph, not too much because otherwise you're just coming down hard on your heel if you're overstretching. So short,
Yeah, like
choppy
say,
slips on the way up, longer on the way down. But again, be conscious that you're not trying to do the splits on the way down.
yeah, the splits. Just don't over exaggerate anything. Don't do the extremes.
Exactly. In moderation. Alrighty.
Exactly.
And in terms of getting the entire job done, to get between the bike, the T1, sorry, the swim, the T1, the bike, T2, and the run, you've got 8.5 hours to get it done. And this will be your reward. This is the finish line, as you can see, as kind of big, cool finish line in the center of Kentucky. Very, very cool finish line. We will move on just to kind of key timetable. Again, to caveat this, I pulled this from the 2025 schedule. And to be clear, this video is not meant to replace the athlete guide. This is not meant to replace the athlete briefings. It's meant to supplement. It's meant to help give two coaches hints and tips as you go through it. So do read the athlete guide, do attend an athlete briefing, and do make sure that all these dates haven't changed because Ironman does do that. It can when they adapt on the fly. So, but this was basically based in 2025, but it should still stand.
Mhm.
You will register between, you can have the option of registering on Friday between 2 and 7 or Saturday between 9 and 4. A little bit unusual, actually. This is something I noted when I was going through the athlete guide myself. They actually give you the timing chip in at registration in Kentucky, as in normally you only get that when you actually check in your bike. So that's something unusual. I don't know why they do that differently, but all
Mm.
groovy with me. So. And by the way, top tip: when you get your timing chip, put it on your left ankle from day one, from the minute you get it, because one of the it's it's a weird observation when you actually see someone in transition when they realize they've left their timing chip in the hotel. It's not, it's a mad panic, and it's almost like the flight of a wild animal trying to get back in time. So I just say, oh, whenever I do it, I just go, look, you hardly feel it anyhow. It's quite comfortable. I just put it on and don't worry about it. So it's there. That's my top tip, how not to kind of. And yes, I was one of those wild animals when I forgot it in Florida at one point. Um, the athlete briefings, as I said, do attend one of these things because the things can change at the last minute. And they might have updates for the swim course. They might have updates on something might be a no pass zone. So do attend an athlete briefing if you can. I always try to work my registration around the same time that I'll be able to attend an athlete briefing afterwards. It's also cool. You kind of get to chat to other athletes from around the world, etc. And in terms of you do need to drop the bike off the day before. And that's when you listen to Coach Steph's great advice about bringing your bright towel and the stuff that you can lay out and set it up either the night before or you can do it in the morning of because you will have access to that the bike, etc. Transition opens between 5 and 6:30 and the good times start at 10 past 7. Any last minute tips in terms of the last few days in the lead up to a race for athletes, Coach Steph?
Well, in particular, you want to stay off your feet if you can, right? Save your energy a little bit. So I always have athletes take a day off, kind of maybe the day that they're driving or traveling or something like that. But then I'll have athletes do some sort of shakeout the day before. So just a short, quick run or ride. Make sure that your bike is working before you drop it off in transition that day. Make sure the batteries are all good to go if you're using electronic shifters or your bike computer or your power pedals or whatever you have. Batteries, make sure they're good and ready to go. And then making sure everything is shifting and working correctly before you're getting that bike dropped off. And then leading up to a couple of days beforehand, make sure you are loading up on those carbohydrates. Getting all of that good glycogen stored into your system is really important to do, not only the night before, but at least 3 to 4 days leading up to the race, as well as hydration. So, increasing your hydration needs, increasing your electrolyte needs a couple of days prior, and then leading up into the race day itself.
Fantastic. Love that. Love those tips. Um, and also another thing I'll add as well, do try to get to transition a wee bit early on the race day, as in the the space-time continuum compresses the minute there's pressure, right? In terms of if you have to you turn up and you're at 6 o'clock and you realize that your tires burst overnight, it'll the ability to get that fixed in half an hour will seem so stressful. as in because you've only got 30 minutes. But if you're there at half five, 5:30, and you sort of find that, I guarantee you there'll be no queue at the mechanics. I guarantee there'll be someone there to help you because they're not putting on their wetsuit, etc. Give
That's
yourself
true.
time. You've invested months of training in this. Do not skimp on arriving early to allow your stuff get there in the first place. Same way going to transition. Do not leave it to the last minute. It stresses me watching people come in transition and like, we're only half an hour because I love
Yeah.
getting in transition early. I'm a very chatty guy. I will get there. I'll get myself set up. I'll start talking to other athletes. I'll actually ask. I can try to help athletes if I can.
Mm.
I'll also try to figure out if they're faster than me, and if they are, then I'll let the air out of their tires. Joking, joking. I'm really painting myself badly here.
Again, take that one, take that part out.
Editor. No, but the transition in the day before race is a fairly magical place. There's a lot of energy, a lot of just raw positivity. Enjoy it.
Mhm. Yeah,
Absolutely.
one more tip from Waco. Actually, this woman had a headlamp for transition. I thought that was great because here I am trying to set up my light for my phone, setting up everything because it's dark. I mean,
Yeah,
they try to put as much light as they can, but on your specific area, it's dark. So the headlamp came in clutch. Like she was already done, and she's like, "Here's my headlamp. Just put it near my stuff when you're done."
yeah. And
Um,
again, yeah, especially when you're looking at like, yes, there will be floodlights as well, but like in terms of if you're looking
yeah,
for like if the cap of
they're
your
all,
was it your valve falls off into the grass, you're not finding that with the headlamp. So
yeah.
it's just yeah. I think it's a top tip to have the headlamp. I always bring them, especially because it is dark. It will be
Mhm.
lightish by the time you're leaving, but as I said, that won't help you if you're
Right.
trying to find the dust cap off your bike if it's fallen off. Right, we will wrap it up there, and I'm just a quick one as well. I mentioned before that I think Coach Steph is a great coach. She's a lovely lady and the rest. If you want to, as I said, I've given her Instagram. There's her email address as well. I'll also have her kind of website details in the comments below. And ping her some questions, but definitely actually ping her. Actually, the question you need to be asking her is how could she help you get your PB or get you your first 70.3 or Ironman medal? So therefore, make sure you ping her some questions. She is very easy going. She's very knowledgeable and she's a pretty cool lady. So do yourself a favor. And on that, we
Thank
will
you.
say thank you very much again. Really love having you on the channel, Coach Steph. Any last minute words for people, any of the viewers?
No, I think logistically it's quite easy to get to. There's quite a few hotels that are within walking distance to the race venue. So if you can grab one of those, that'll be great. There's a lot of parking available. So there's also a soccer stadium nearby that you can park there as well. So logistically, it's really well set up. It sounds like a beautiful course aside from all of those hills, but train yourself for those hills. Make sure you're not lacking on the hill repeats in your training on the bike and on the run. Get that in, and I think you'll be, well primed and ready for this race.
Fantastic. And again, brilliant. Thanks very much. And great tips there as well. As it is a challenging course, but you train well for it and then you smash it. And then it's a much of a
Yeah,
rewarding medal. We will
exactly.
we will leave it there, Steph. Thank you very much as usual. It's been brilliant talking to you, and we will talk to you in the next review.
Great. Thank you.